so hi everyone. Thank you for joining. So I'm going to talk about sort of a subset of the policy recommendations about accreditation. And so this is something that we investigated. It's more of a discussion paper rather than a particular topic of research, but it did feed from all the research that we have done over the past. And so this is all summarized in one of the deliverables that I'm sure that Adobe will also put here in the chat about the accreditation process. And just to start us off, what is accreditation? So this is the place where we started as well, just going to the dictionary and trying to understand what does accreditation mean and what are all the different ways that you can sort of vision or think about accreditation. And so the very basic one from the Oxford Dictionary is an official approval given by an organization stating that somebody or something has achieved a required standard. So that is sort of the overall sort of definition. We also have some sort of more elaborative definition. So if we go to dictionary.com, they sort of take that large definition and sort of break it up to a few different, more specific definitions, which you can see here in the slide. And so overall, I think we can say that the concept of accreditation presupposes that there's some kind of quality verification against some kind of standard, and that gives a validation that the standard is sort of met. And so it helps formalize activities, you could say. It demands a set of metrics or indicators or thresholds to be met in order to meet that accreditation. And if we try to take this sort of into the context of citizen science, it's theorized as something that can give motivation to increase participation, a way for acknowledging the people who participate in citizen science, or of approving a project or a method or an activity within citizen science. And so this is sort of what we've started at, and we really looked very hard both at the literature to see what literature on accreditation we can find in the context of citizen science, and also thinking about the analysis that we've done in all the different work packages and discussing this with our partners and trying to understand from them what their findings are that are related to accreditation. And taking everything that we learned together, we built this framework that I will present to you now and try to sort of explain. Because it really has been made very clear to us that accreditation takes many different forms. And it also is related to many different stakeholders. So it can be internal, it can be external, it can involve individuals, it can involve groups or projects or institutions. So it's really very varied, very varied. And so we've identified a number of different types of accreditation, which you can see here with the different numbers. And we constructed them across these two pillars. So the first one is the individuals involved in the accreditation process. So that may be citizen scientists, as you can see on the top, all the way down to the professionals or the scientists that are working and leading these projects or designing these projects. And then the second pillar that we have is the entity or the activity or the outcome that is subjected to accreditation. So as I said, projects or tasks or even learning outcomes from these projects. And so I will give examples to try to explain each of these different types. And so on the very top in the middle, you can see we have the training of citizen scientists. In this context, accreditation is referred to as an instructional process within one particular citizen science project. So participants engage in some kind of training of a specific topic, learn some skills or knowledge that they need specifically in order to complete the task that they are doing as part of this project. Next, we have the participants' learning and competences. This is something a little bit more broad than what we've seen when we talked about the specific skills that people need. So this serves to acknowledge the skills and knowledge that people gained more generally often it's after participation in quite extensive time, so they gain some kind of understanding or experience or familiarity with the topic that they are volunteering as or contributing to. And this, to a certain degree, can be also looked as some kind of certification. And okay, so running quickly towards the next one. So this is the other side of the access, looking more at the project. So this is recognition of participants. This is something that can come from the project itself, and it's been raised as a very important part of motivating participants in citizen science, often even predicting their engagement. So this is sort of a method to acknowledge participants' contribution to a particular project and specifically express the gratitude that we have for their effort over time. Our next accreditation type is now related to the scientist side, so the training of scientists. It refers to those that are leading citizen science projects or designing projects, and discusses the skills and training that they need in order to lead such projects and how we train them, the training in order to do that. And then lastly, on the other side again of the axis looking at projects, we have the accreditation of the quality of projects. So while all the others that we talked about talk about the individuals or the people that are participating, here we're talking really about the citizen science project itself. So a project may be assessed, for example, based on its activity, its management, its community engagement, and this may lead, if it's done appropriately and the quality is high, to greater participation and appreciation of the quality of the project. So this was very vague. I'm going to try and give a little bit of examples. And so the example that I chose here, because it has so many of the different types of accreditation, and Aaron talked about this a little bit at the beginning of his talk, was the example of SciStarter. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the platform, but I'll give a little bit of context. It's a project, an online citizen science project platform, that allows participants to browse through and join different citizen science projects or events. And they have recently introduced a training tool that relates to a number of the different types that I said. So first of all, the basic training, what is it? They have training in different topics. The first one is what is citizen science, a little bit of an introduction of citizen science that relates to the first type of accreditation. So number one, where we train citizen scientists. But they also, as Aaron said, offer different badges that, that was the models. They also offer badges that once you complete the training, you have that badge, and that relates to the second type of accreditation, which is the learning and the competences. And to the third one, again, that is the recognition, because you can use these badges and put it on your profile, and then other projects also see what competences you have and what experience you have, so that relates again to the recognition. And then the fourth one that is now related to the scientist is also present here, because they also have a facilitation tool that helps to scientists understand citizen science and the training of citizen science. So this is an example that we like to use. Obviously, there are other examples. There are other projects that do, a various different combination of these different accreditation types. SciStarter currently does not have something for accreditation type number 5, which is the quality of projects. So therefore, we wanted to show a different project that does that. MIX is another Horizon 2020 funded projects measuring the impact of citizen science. They've recently published a set of indicators that allow to do exactly that, to assess the impact of citizen science. And so that corresponds very nicely with the accreditation type number 5. And so this is some of the work that we've been doing, sort of synthesizing together what accreditation is in the context of citizen science. And we also came up with a number of policy recommendations. I'm only going to highlight 2 of them right now because of the time, but you're welcome to read the report to see the others. So first of all, our first recommendation is to institutionalize accreditation within citizen science. It was very difficult for us to find information about accreditation. It is something that is, talked about as something that is important to do, but not many projects and not many papers in the literature actually discuss how they do this. And we think it would be of very big value towards the citizen science community generally and to participants more specifically. And so we recommend here to try and establish the agency to design these kinds of ways to accredit in all the different types. And because they're accredited in different types, this recommendation can also be implemented by different levels, by particular projects, by citizen science organizations, and by funding agencies. So that really corresponds, if we think about the policy levels that Otto and Aaron showed us before, it corresponds with all the different levels. The second policy recommendation I will highlight is setting different standards for accreditation, which again, different standards for the different individuals or entities that are subject to the accreditation, if it may be projects or tasks, if it may be the citizen scientists or the scientists themselves. And each of these need to have a set of criteria that we can look against in order to be able to accredit these. We have a bunch of other policy recommendations, but I'm not going to discuss all of them. You're welcome to read them and to ask questions.